This is my favorite radio, not because it's packed with features, but because it limits my operation to 5 watts. 10 watts if I use an external battery, but I don't ever do that. Myth-busting videos are all the rage in ham radio YouTube videos these days. Another thing that's quite popular is talking about QRP and why operating 10 watts is almost the same thing, if not better, than operating 100 watts. People on both sides of the arguments use anecdotal observation and tell stories about that one contact that they made 2 states away as to why 10 watts is better than 100 or why 100 is better than 10. Today what we're going to do is use a tool called VOACAP, and we're going to use some data. We're going to appeal to authority, so you don't have to take the word of a YouTube ham like me. You can take the word of VOACAP to see which one's actually better. Are you ready to take your electronics project to the next level? Then check out PCBWay.com, the ultimate source for all your project needs. PCBWay.com delivers top-notch PCB fabrication and assembly services with unmatched precision. With lightning-fast worldwide shipping, your orders arrive on time, every time. From concept to completion, PCBWay.com is your trusted partner in innovation. Visit PCBWay.com today and make your project a reality. Now keep in mind the term better is subjective and has no real meaning based on your definition. Now what I've done in recent times is come to love and embrace the QRP lifestyle, and I'm going to explain why. By embracing the QRP lifestyle, I can ascertain a position of dominance over regular hams by just letting them know that I operate QRP. Now some of the tips that I've got for letting folks know that I'm a QRP operator is that I buy merch. Anything that I can find, hats, t-shirts, stickers, that says something like QRP for life, QRP lifestyle, or I operate QRP. I brag about low power DX and how I have a small battery. I also make QRP part of my operating habits. For example, when I call CQ, the most important thing for me is letting folks know that I'm actually a QRP operator. It's not my call sign, it's not my location, it's not if I'm activating POTA, it's that I'm activating QRP. QRP, CQ, CQ, QRP calling QRP, CQ, QRP, and then everybody knows that I'm on QRP. I also join QRP forums, online clubs, and Discord servers where I can communicate with like-minded individuals. Mostly because I can't talk to them on the air, but that's not important. I can still talk to these people via the internet. The other thing that I've taken up is commenting on QRP YouTube videos, and I want everybody there to know I'm a QRPer as well. And I've even taken that to non-QRP YouTube videos. I just say, hey, I operate QRP, even if it has nothing to do with the subject of the video. One of the things I've had to do is practice antenna rhetoric. So whenever somebody asks me why I operate QRP, or they want to talk about technical distinctions between 5 watts and 100 watts, or 10 watts and 100 watts, the first thing I do is talk about antennas. I say, hey, it's all about the antenna. I don't need to be specific here, but I change the topic, and then I portray myself as an antenna expert. I also tell people, hey, there's no real difference if you have a good antenna. 5 watts, 100 watts, there's no difference. It's about your antenna. I also say things like, I use resonant antennas, which really doesn't mean anything either because an antenna is really only resonant on one frequency on the band. I guess maybe I just make mine resonant for the QRP calling frequency. And I say, hey, I can make more contacts with a better antenna. Again, avoiding any direct answer to any questions about QRP. The other thing I get to do is imply that only QRPers have good antennas. Now here's the most important thing when talking to somebody about QRP. You need to pretend that there's no real difference between 10 watts and 100 watts. The easiest way to do this is through obfuscation. I use egghead speak to misdirect and confuse normal ham radio operators. What I'll do is confuse or switch out linear and logmatic scales. I do that interchangeably. So instead of saying, hey, the difference is 90 watts, I say things like, hey, it's only 9 dB. You know, an S unit is only 6 dB. What's a few S units? Each time I switch scales, from a linear thing like watts to logarithmic and then back to linear, what I do is make the difference sound smaller and smaller and smaller. I also create scenarios pretending that everybody has a low noise floor. I'll say things like an S9 is really an upside down 6. See, the thing is with QRP, we're putting out a low-powered signal, and that means that a radio is going to pick us up at a lower S level. The lower noise floor everybody has, the less difference that it makes. I also like to use technical terms that have no real meaning. I'll say things like 5 clean watts is like 100 dirty watts. Or I'll say things like I have a punchy signal. Neither of those technical terms, pseudo-technical terms, have any meaning, so I can say whatever I want, and it can't be challenged. The other thing I'll do is assert my superiority. It takes more skill with QRP. It takes more patience, and it's really all about the journey. When I say things like that, it makes me sound smart. Okay, so here's the tool that we're going to use to actually do our comparison using data between operating 10 watts and 100 watts. It's called VOACAP. It stands for Voice of America something or other that's not really important for this video because this video is really about QRP. So on the right side of that screen, you can see some configuration settings. And the first thing we did is set it for single sideband 10 watts. I can also go into the settings and I can set things here. So what I did for noise is I set it for residential 145. Now there's something SSN, that's not your social security number, that's for sunspot number. If you put -1 in, I believe it uses actual data for the day that you're doing your modeling, or you can enter in a custom value if you want. For our coverage area map settings, we're set for the 20-meter band, and we're starting at 1700 UTC and we're doing an 8-hour range. So here you can see for 20 meters in the receiver site and the transmitter site, we set it for a quarter wavelength ground-planed antenna with good ground. Okay, our first analysis is for 20 meters, 10 watts single sideband. And then you can see conditions change and the likelihood of propagation changing as we progress through our 8-hour activation. We really only cover 1/3 to 1/2 of the United States, and we never really get higher than around a 70% probability. Maybe there's a little 80 in there. Here's 20 meters at 100 single sideband. And you can see we cover most of the country, but a lot of that country doesn't even have people living there who are ham radio operators, so it really doesn't matter. We do get some 100% probability for activation, but it's really over the ocean. Keep in mind our base is set up in Phoenix, Arizona. Now here we alternate between 10 and 100 over the course of 8 hours, and then you can see the difference. Again, a lot of that propagation's into the water. And it looks like most of our coverage is west of the Mississippi. Now we're going to take a look at 20 meters, 10 watts using FT8. Pretty impressive, right? Now we're looking at 100 watts on FT8. And while that might look impressive, keep in mind most of that 100% is in the water. Well, there's the continental U.S. There's South America. There's all of South America. Now we're going to compare 10 versus 100, interchanging the two out. Now keep in mind, some of these look pretty impressive with contacts getting across to Asia and Europe, but they're probably asleep at this time, so it doesn't really count. The other thing, FT8 really is an amateur radio, so it doesn't count either. This is going to wind down our video, and I can say, another myth busted.